Hello everybody, my name is Dennis, and welcome back to another album review. Today we're doing debut studio album from New Orleans rap duo Suicide Boys, entitled I Want to Die in New Orleans. Although this group has released myriads of mixtapes, this is actually their first real studio album. And there was a lot of hype behind it too. They've developed a fairly large fan base, beginning from SoundCloud and growing from there. Many people criticize them for having edgy lyrics, and although I definitely see that on this album, it's a lot more mature than I think people give it credit for. A lot of it does talk about themes of suicide, drug abuse, etc., but none of these feel like just shock value. There's meaning behind all of it, and it's really sad meaning, honestly. A lot of it talks about how using drugs isn't always recreational. They don't do it because it's fun. They do it because it numbs the pain. It makes them feel better. And that's the sad truth that a lot of people don't realize. But going on from there, this was a really solid lyrical album pretty much the entire way through. Like I said, a lot of it deals with themes of depression and suicide, and the effect that one's life can have on that. And even though the idea of fame isn't as good as it's meant to be has been beaten to death by this point, this group still does it in a really well done way. And this is done through the way they present the information. Although it still boils down to fame isn't good, it's a lot more than that. It goes into what it makes them feel, how they miss the old days when they could spend time just living simple lives and treating each other as cousins instead of as business partners, because for a rap group that only has two people who are cousins, you'd think that they'd be close in a lot of what they do. But as it's brought out in this album, they grow farther and farther apart despite working so close together. They want to go back to New Orleans and live a happy life there. And as the title of the album suggests, that's where they want to stay, where they die in New Orleans, where they die where they were happy. And that's a really sad thought that I don't think enough people consider, and it's a difficult message to swallow, but it's an important one to understand for sure. As far as actual songs go, this had really good production. Especially on songs like King Tulip and Nicotine Patches and 10,000 Degrees. It offers a surprisingly melodic tone. Normally these people have very dark, very brooding, very depressing beats, but I'm happy to see them branching out a bit more. Even if it's nothing revolutionary by their standards, it's still fresh enough to where it is really nice. I enjoyed a lot of what they had to say, and if I had to say anything bad, is that sometimes the production could be a bit overbearing. It could be a bit overly noisy, overly dramatic, and it could detract from some really powerful lyrics, and this really stands out on songs like Bring Out Your Dead, or Wartime All the Time, where there's just so much going on in the production that it makes it difficult to appreciate anything else that's going on in the music. But it balances this melodic versus dark tone really well throughout the album. Not only do we have some really pleasant on the ears beats, like I said, from songs like Nicotine Patches or 122 Days, we have some really dark beats that are really effective without being too overbearing on something like Phantom Menace, which was one of the better tracks on the album for sure. It offered some really deep, really dark, really gritty, really almost menacing sounds, and it's suitable for a song called Phantom Menace. But it works really well and plays to the emotions of the song. But one of the most surprisingly catchy songs on the album was Long Gone, and something about that hook where he goes, "Save me from this hell, rest in peace," over and over again, is sung so amazingly that I just can't get it out of my head. It's so catchy, and it's stuck in my head in all the best ways possible. I don't mind it being there because it sounds really great. So I was surprised with how much I enjoyed this album. I listened to a little bit of their earlier stuff, and it wasn't bad by any means, but I was genuinely impressed, and I'm looking forward to see where the group goes in the future. If you haven't checked them out, definitely do so. There's a lot to be seen, especially in their lyrics, and like I said, it may come across as just like edgy or trying to sound really dark. Oh, we're talking about suicide, we're talking about death. But there's so much more to it than that. They don't talk about these things just for shock value. There's a lot of dark, hard to swallow messages that a lot of people need to know, and someone has to tell these stories. From everywhere from how fame has worsened drug addictions to how these drug addictions have worsened relationships, and how this loss of relationship has spawned further drug addiction. And it's a really vicious cycle that's hard to break. And it's a really interesting look at addiction and what it does to somebody. So I was genuinely impressed, and even though it's far from a perfect album, there's plenty of room to grow on it. Like I said, a lot of the songs were definitely more overbearing, or didn't leave quite the impression I would have liked, especially considering the lyrical content. But I liked it. I liked it a lot, and I'm feeling a 7 out of 10. Be sure to tell me what you thought about the album. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, see what you think of the way the lyrics are presented. Tell me how wrong my opinion is as always, and I'll see you in the next review. Bye.